You know, some days on the ambulance you deal with life or death situations. Other days, you deal with a different kind of emergency, a fully grown adult who just can't grasp the concept of a uniform. And let me tell you, this one was a doozy. So it was the start of a fresh 24-hour shift, and my partner and I were doing the usual, stocking the rig, downing some coffee, and planning our grocery run for the day. We were in our full get-up, the navy blue pants, the light blue uniform shirts with our patches, department logo, and paramedic clearly embroidered. You couldn't possibly mistake us for anything else, right? Yeah, well, you'd think. We pulled into a fancy-pants grocery store in one of the city's ritziest neighborhoods. Think polished floors, organic everything, and more designer handbags per square foot than a fashion show. The place was buzzing, and everyone looked like they'd stepped straight out of a Hamptons catalog. We just wanted some cereal and maybe a decent sandwich for later. I was in the cereal aisle, lost in thought between Frosted Flakes and oat clusters, a crucial decision, as any EMT knows when you're facing a long shift. That's when I felt it, a laser beam stare drilling into the side of my head. I looked up to see a woman in her late 60s, immaculately dressed in what I'm sure was a very expensive pantsuit, her silver hair perfectly coiffed, and a scowl that could curdle milk. She looked unimpressed with my cereal browsing. "Excuse me," she barked, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. Not a hello, not a pardon me, just a demand. "Could you please go find me the canned artichoke hearts? They're never where they're supposed to be." I blinked. "I'm sorry, ma'am," I said, trying to keep my voice even, "but I don't actually work here. I'm a paramedic." I even gestured vaguely at my uniform, which, again, was pretty unambiguous. She narrowed her eyes as if I'd just confessed to shoplifting. "I don't care what you are," she scoffed, waving a dismissive hand. "You're wearing a uniform, aren't you? Now I need those artichoke hearts and you're going to get them for me." My jaw almost hit the floor. This woman was just next level. I tried again. "No, really, I'm with the ambulance service. See my badge. This isn't a store uniform." She actually took a step closer, planting her feet, and then the ultimate power move. She maneuvered her enormous, overflowing shopping cart, packed with what looked like gourmet dog food and imported cheeses, to block my path down the aisle. She had me pinned between her cart and the display of gluten-free granola. "I don't have all day," she snapped, her voice rising. "Are you going to help me, or do I need to speak to your manager?" I swear my blood pressure was starting to rise. I was a paramedic. I handled medical emergencies, trauma, the kind of stuff that made normal people faint. But this was testing my patience in a completely new, absurd way. I took a deep breath, ready to try one last, firmer explanation, when suddenly, a familiar, glorious sound cut through the tense silence. "Beep, beep, beep, Medic 1 to dispatch." My portable radio, clipped to my hip, blared to life. It was a Code 3 call, lights and sirens. An actual emergency. The universe, it seemed, had decided to intervene. I looked at the woman whose scowl had frozen mid-snarl, her mouth slightly agape at the sudden noise. "Ma'am," I said, a wave of immense relief washing over me, "I'm really sorry, but I actually have to go. That's my job." And with that, I squeezed past her cart, practically jogging out of the store to meet my partner, the urgent crackle of the dispatcher's voice guiding me away from the canned vegetables and entitled rage. As we sped towards the call, sirens wailing, I couldn't help but let out a burst of laughter. "You are not going to believe what just happened," I told my partner, still chuckling. Who gets mad at an ambulance worker for not being a grocery store employee? It was just so utterly, ridiculously unhinged. Hours later, after the call was cleared and we were heading back to grab those forgotten groceries, we swung back into the same store. And there she was, the Artichoke Heart Lady. Still in the same spot, same expensive suit, but now she was absolutely losing it on a very harried-looking store manager. Her face was bright red, her arms gesticulating wildly, clearly still furious about the perceived lack of service. My partner and I exchanged a look. I felt a tiny pang of sympathy for the manager, but mostly I just shook my head. Some people, man, they just live in their own little world. We quickly grabbed our essentials, paid, and got out of there, leaving the Artichoke Heart Lady to her ongoing, self-inflicted crisis. It's a weird one, I know, but sometimes the most memorable moments on the job aren't the dramatic rescues, but the bizarre, everyday interactions that remind you just how wild the human experience can be. So next time you see someone in a uniform, maybe just double-check what kind of uniform it is before you demand they fetch you a vegetable. You never know, they might just have a more pressing emergency to attend to.
Still watching? Dang, you must love internet drama. Smash subscribe. It's cheaper than therapy.
You ever have one of those days where you're just trying to give your dog a bath, minding your own business, and suddenly you're the unwilling star in a full-blown Karen meltdown? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. Hey guys, it's Kai here, and trust me, this one's a doozy. I was at our local pet store, the one with the self-serve dog wash stations. My big, fluffy golden retriever buddy was in his happy place, getting scrubbed down. He loves the warm water, and honestly, it's easier than trying to wrestle him into our tiny shower at home. I was humming along to whatever generic pop music was playing, completely in my zone, lathering up Buddy's ridiculously soft fur, when I saw her. A woman, let's call her C, for constantly confused or caustic crusader, take your pick, was hovering near the main counter looking agitated. An employee, a young cashier, pointed vaguely in my direction. Oh, I thought, but dismissed it. I'm just a guy and his dog. Then C started heading my way, a determined, slightly menacing glint in her eye. She zeroed in on me, not even bothering to look at my perfectly normal customer clothes. Excuse me, do you trim dog nails here? She snapped, like I was already 5 minutes late for her appointment. I paused mid-scrub, Buddy tilting his head, a sudsy question mark. I chuckled a little, used to people mistaking me for staff because I look vaguely competent. Nah, I'm just a customer washing my dog here, I said, gesturing to Buddy in the bubbling water. My tone was easygoing, hoping she'd just move on. C's face did this weird thing, a flicker of disbelief quickly hardening into irritation. Well, how much does it cost to use the dog wash? She demanded, arms now crossed, clearly not buying my first explanation. Her voice had an edge, like she thought I was purposefully being unhelpful. Seriously, ma'am, I really don't work here, I repeated, a little firmer this time, trying to get back to my very important task of rinsing Buddy's tail. I'm just a regular person with my dog. That's when CC decided no wasn't an answer she accepted. She took a step closer, invading my personal space, her voice dropping to a low, aggressive hiss. Are you lying to me? Because that employee pointed right at you. You need to tell me the price. Buddy, bless his sensitive soul, picked up on the sudden tension. He let out a low, uneasy growl, his hackles starting to rise just a tiny bit. He looked at me, then at C, sensing the threat. My chill vibe evaporated, fast. Hey, you need to back off, I yelled, my voice sharp, pushing myself slightly in front of Buddy. You're scaring my dog, I already told you I don't work here. That seemed to break something in C. She recoiled like I'd sprayed her with a hose, her face contorted in fury. How dare you yell at me, she shrieked, making a dramatic U-turn. She stormed off, slamming the gate to the dog wash area with a resounding clang that echoed through the store. As she stomped past a display, her flailing arms swept across a tower of bagged dog treats, sending them cascading to the floor. I just stared, a mix of disbelief and morbid amusement bubbling up inside me. Buddy, still a little antsy, leaned against my leg. The young cashier who'd witnessed the whole thing just sighed, a long, weary sound. I'm so sorry about that, Kai, she said, giving me a knowing look. CC is regular, she's just a little difficult. Just as I was about to ask if difficult was code for dangerously unhinged, CC stormed back into the store. This time she wasn't looking at me. She was a hurricane headed straight for the cashier. I want to speak to your manager now, she bellowed, pointing a furious finger at the poor cashier. That man, she jabbed her finger in my general direction. He was incredibly rude and refused to help me, and I know he works here. The cashier, bless her patience, tried to calmly explain, Ma'am, I already told you he's a customer. He doesn't work here. But CC wasn't having it. Don't lie to me. He's clearly an employee. He was washing a dog. Why would a customer be doing that? Fire him immediately. Her voice was practically vibrating with indignation. The argument went back and forth, refusing to listen to reason, the cashier growing visibly more frustrated. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of C's indignant squawking, the cashier's voice went cold. Ma'am, I'm asking you to leave the store, now. C just planted her feet, a stubborn, furious statue. I'm not leaving until you fire that man. Then I'm going to have to call the police, the cashier stated, pulling out her phone. That seemed to be the magic word, C's bravado deflated a bit, replaced by a sputtering rage. She shot one last venomous glare in my direction, then spun on her heel and finally stormed out for good. The store settled into an almost unnatural quiet, punctuated only by Buddy's happy panting. As I finished rinsing Buddy, wrapping him in a towel, I couldn't help but shake my head. It was just so bizarre, so utterly ridiculous. All I wanted was to give my dog a bath, and I ended up in the middle of a screaming match with a woman who refused to believe basic reality. So yeah, another day, another story for the Reddit archives. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, stay calm, protect your dog if you have one, and let the actual employees deal with the Karens. Sometimes you just can't win against someone determined to be wrong. And as always, thanks for listening.
Ever had one of those moments where your blood just runs cold, and your fight or flight kicks in so hard you almost black out? Yeah, that was me in a bookstore, just trying to find a bedtime story for my kid when I nearly lost her. So picture this, I'm in Barnes & Noble just chilling. My daughter Lily is maybe 18 months old, fast asleep in her stroller, all snug. I'm browsing the kids section, looking for something magical, maybe a pop-up book, just totally engrossed. The stroller's right there, literally an arm's length away. I'm humming to myself, probably smelling old paper and coffee, just enjoying a quiet afternoon. Then I feel it, a gentle tug, a slight movement of the stroller. My first thought is, oh, did I accidentally bump it? I glance over, expecting to see a display or something, but instead I see her. A woman, probably in her 50s, medium height, kind of frumpy, with a tight grip on Lily's stroller handle. And she's not just holding it. She's actively, deliberately trying to steer it away from me towards the main aisle. My heart just stopped, everything went quiet. Hey, I blurted out, my voice coming out way more strangled than I intended. What the hell are you doing? That's my daughter. She jerked back like she'd been zapped. Her eyes, which had been fixed on the stroller, snapped to mine. They were wide, kind of glassy, and utterly bewildered. Oh, she stammered, actually taking a step back but still holding onto the stroller. Oh, I am trying to find the child's parents. I mean, seriously, my brain just short-circuited. Excuse me, I demanded, striding forward and physically putting my hand on the stroller handle right over hers. You're trying to find her parents by pushing her away from her father. Right here, my voice was shaking now, loud enough that a couple of other shoppers started looking our way. Lily, thankfully, was still out cold. The woman's face crumpled. She looked around, utterly lost, then back at me, tears welling up in her eyes. I don't know what I was thinking, she whispered, her voice cracking. Her grip on the stroller finally loosened. A wave of pure, cold rage washed over me. No, you don't know what you were thinking, do you? I shot back, probably louder than I should have. Were you thinking you could just walk off with her? Without anyone noticing. In that moment, the only thing I could think was abduction, my kid gone right from under my nose. The idea was terrifying. She didn't answer, she just stood there, shoulders hunched, completely unraveling. Big fat tears started rolling down her cheeks. She was genuinely distraught, completely broken. She mumbled something incomprehensible, then turned on her heel and practically bolted, weaving through the shelves and out of sight. I stood there for a few seconds, breathing heavy, still gripping the stroller, my knuckles white. The adrenaline was pumping, my heart hammering like a drum. I glanced down at Lily, perfectly oblivious, and just wanted to hug her tight. It took a minute for me to calm down enough to even think about paying for the book. As I was leaving the store, still feeling pretty shaken, I saw her again. She was outside, leaning against a lamppost, sobbing hysterically into her phone. She looked utterly devastated, shaking from head to toe. And honestly, my immediate anger started to mix with something else. pity maybe, confusion. I mean, yeah, she was stupid, dangerously, unbelievably stupid. But seeing her like that, so completely broken, it made me wonder, was she really trying to snatch my daughter? Or was she just genuinely, tragically mistaken? Like maybe she'd just seen a stroller that looked like one she knew and without really looking just grabbed it. Or was she just incredibly, horribly confused, genuinely thinking a child was abandoned and she was helping? I don't know, the thought of someone trying to abduct Lily still makes my stomach clench, but the image of that woman falling apart outside the bookstore sticks with me too. It was a bizarre, terrifying, and ultimately really sad encounter. I still buy books there, but now I keep a much, much tighter grip on the stroller. You just never know, do you?
This next one's right up your alley.